My 27F fiancé, 26M, set boundaries around what I can talk about with him. Is this healthy? Essentially the title. My fiancé and I have been dating for 4 years, engaged for 8 months. Over the last 2 years, he's asked me not to talk about or drastically limit how much I talk about certain topics, including work, niche topics that I've extensively researched and really enjoy, and our wedding. Today, he added the cat I recently rescued to the list. This has severely limited the topics that I talk to him about and made me feel that he just doesn't want me to talk. This is backed up by comments that he's made about how monotonous and hard to listen to my voice is. Writing this out, I totally understand that I sound like a boring person, but he knew most of these things about me coming into the relationship. We knew each other before we started dating. However, I understand that those things aren't everyone's cup of tea. I used to talk at length about these topics, but I've worked really hard not to talk about them too much with him. I even set daily reminders on my phone not to talk about the topics that bother him until it became a habit. Initially, he said I didn't need to set the reminders, but he was noticeably happier when I started talking less in general. Meanwhile, he continues to talk at length about the similar topics that he's asked me not to, work and his favorite topics to research. When I brought up what I felt like was a double standard, he said that anyone could understand and relate to his work, whereas he doesn't understand mine. I've also made an effort to at least listen to and encourage his research topics, even though they're not my thing, and he says that these are the only things he has to unwind outside of work, a physical, public-facing job. It does make me sad. I believe in encouraging people's favorite topics, and I'd really love to have that reciprocated from my partner. Instead, the list keeps getting longer. When I want to give him important updates on my work, like that I'm going after another job, I have to preface my update with, "I'll make this quick," or 2-minute update, and even then he looks like he's been forced to endure. Several times, when those things, especially work, which has been especially rough for me this year, are all I can think about, I find myself with very little to say that won't go against the boundaries he's set, but I still want desperately to talk to someone. On those days, weeks, we'll have very surface-level conversations. Especially then, I talk a lot to our 3 cats and now the rescue cat, mostly nonsense things about how sweet they are and silly made-up scenarios, and then we just slow blink at each other back and forth. It's great. This upsets my fiancé. He's made comments about how he'd have to act like a cat if he wants me to talk to him and give him attention. I've explained that I'm just going through stuff at work, and don't want to talk his ear off about it. I've tried having conversations about how to resolve this so we both get what we need, but he usually turns it back on me in some way. This can't be healthy, right? Or am I overthinking it, missing something? We're about 2 months out from the wedding, and I'm struggling to finish wedding DIYs because of what this would mean for the rest of my life. Tia, for any advice. I'm going to be very honest, this sounds like he doesn't like you. This can't be healthy, right? Not at all. I'm pretty baffled that you want to marry a guy who doesn't even want you to talk to him unless it's something he gives a shit about. I've treated people I legitimate hate better than your partner is treating you. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to date someone who likes you? I mean, he sounds like a controlling asshole who does not even like you. I don't like your voice, so here are some things I want you to stop talking about. Come on, girl, you know what to do. The fact that you think this makes you boring is concerning. He's boring. He doesn't have anything to talk about, so he doesn't want you to discuss your own interests and then puts you down. Come on, girl, you can do better. You could go outside, flag down a random passing car, and meet a better man. My M33 wife F34 grieves over a child I never told or agreed we'd have. How to move forward. My wife, F34, and I, M33, got married 7 years ago and together for 10. Back then, we didn't discuss children a lot except for that at one point, she wanted 1 or 2 and I agreed, 1, maybe 2 maximum. 4 years ago we had our first M4, 2 years later our second was born M2. After the first I already was thinking of it being hard enough, but I agreed with the reasoning that having a sibling would be good for our first. That was it for my though, I do not want more children, and I thought my wife didn't either, but we didn't really discuss it anymore. Now our second has turned 2, she wanted to go for a third, she now wants a big family. I am not for it, I never wanted that, I told that, and stood my ground. Much crying, on both sides, arguments on both sides given, but each of us is convinced of their reasoning. There's no half a baby, there's no compromising this one. My wife now has moments of whole day crying, at these days she can't even look at me, other days it looks like it has been given a place and life goes on. We have 2 small children to take care of, life is busy and those days I think we're going to alright. But then comes another series of days of probably grief for a baby I never told we'd have. I'm not sure how I can help the situation further, since I see only 2 ways out. She processes the reality of having 2 children, or there will be a breakup because she wants to find someone else to have a third child with. Is there a third road I'm not seeing? Feel like I'm on eggshells and already I'm telling people who visit not to bring up innocent questions like when is a third coming. Experiences of people in the same situation who got over it can be helpful. Little details that could help her or me are also welcome. TLDR, my wife changed her opinion on amount of children, I haven't. How to bypass this relationship roadblock. Marriage counseling, and possibly individual therapy for your wife, not because there's anything wrong with her. It's absolutely reasonable for her to discover along the road of having 2 children that she wants 3, and it's absolutely reasonable for you who only wanted 1, and possibly 2 to realize that you do not want any more children. But she is grieving a genuine emotional loss and therapy can help her work through that. But marriage counseling is also necessary to help the 2 of you work through the realization that 2 people can love each other and not want exactly the same out of life, and more importantly, how to move forward. She needs therapy, and badly. Spending whole days crying and fostering this bitterness towards you isn't good for her or the family she already has. Have you asked your wife why she wants another baby? Is it just about the idea of having a large family, or is it that she wants a girl? I think that's worth unpacking. Not that it will solve your issue, of course, but it might help you understand what she feels is missing from your family at present that another baby might add. Have a vasectomy. I think you need to sit with a marriage counselor and have this as a really frank discussion. The problem is that even if your wife says she now agrees to only 2, there's no way of knowing how much resentment she will carry for the rest of her life. She's still young enough now that leaving and having another family is possible. But I truly think you need a third party to help see if this is the only option. I feel sorry for the 2 children she has who are going to feel neglected and unloved if she carries on like this. They are going to feel more and more rejected the older they get, as she just wants babies. She needs therapy or to find hobbies outside of being a mother in order to move her mind on in life. Do not give her a baby just to stop her whining. My girlfriend 18F likes a guy at work. I am 18M. What's the best course of action for this? My girlfriend recently told me about this male coworker who she finds very attractive. The way she was talking to me about him was the same way someone would talk about their crush. A few days ago she mentioned she had severe stomach pains, and then the second she saw him it all went away. She spoke about their little interactions at work as if they were very significant. She mentioned how she feels like she isn't enough look-wise, obviously meaning she doesn't feel like she is pretty enough for him. She also mentioned she sees me as her baby, like actual baby, and sees him as something else. She also mentioned she didn't know if she was properly attracted to guy until she saw him, and now says she knows she does. Not sure what to faux about this. Context. She treats me well and all. This is a new thing, as if she's discovering that she's attracted to other guys now. I doubt she would ever cheat though. We have also been dating for 2 years. Run lad, you're 18 and it's a big world. No one who is truly into you would ever treat you this way. Dude, leave, she will cheat, she is just trying to find ways to justify her actions. Sees you as a baby, IWLD, find woman that sees you as you. She's not the one for you bro, also you guys are young, you don't need to have that shit weighing on you. No actual relationship is like that. Actively telling your partner you are seriously attracted to someone else, to the point of basically butterflies. As much as it sucks, it sounds like she will be relieved if you break it off. She seems real evil. Sounds like she's trying to get rid of you by making you feel jealous, insecure. I suggest leaving. My 30 FTM son, 16M, keeps asking about his biological father. What do I tell him? Old throwaway account as my kid is on Reddit. When I was 14, I was sexually assaulted by a 19-year-old friend of my then girlfriend's. I ended up getting pregnant. I wouldn't tell anyone what really happened. Even now, the only people who know are my really close friends and my therapist. My son's asked a few times who his biological dad is. When I was a teenager, I tell him that I'd tell him when he's older. I had a hard time thinking of the right thing to say back then. Nowadays I've explained to him that I don't know the guy or much about him. That I never knew his name, which is true, but I find I get nervous when he asks and he can tell. Bringing it up makes me feel anxious and a little sick. I struggle to think about it even after years of therapy. We got into a bit of a fight about it where he asked me why I won't tell him about his dad and accused me of lying to him about not knowing him. I really don't know the guy, but I think the anxiety I have around the situation has led him to think I do. I don't want to lie to him, but I don't want him to know that he's related to someone who did something horrible or that I love him less because of it. I don't know what to tell him. Do I tell him the truth? Do I lie to him? I can't keep avoiding the question. Get a family therapist and navigate this with them. Finding out his father is an unknown rapist is a subject he's going to need support with. I'm so sorry, but I think you had to tell him. I agree with the other commenter who suggested a family therapist. Honestly, this above Reddit's pay grade. You need a professional to help guide you through this. Again, I'm so sorry and I wish you well. You tell your child the truth. There is no other way. I don't think lying to your kids is ever the right idea, outside of white lies for their safety when they're littles. This is going to be a rough situation for both of you, and neither of you are wrong. I think finding a therapist that can help you navigate this situation would be incredibly helpful. Good Lord, you were 14, you'd think he'd do the math and realize he might not want to know. I don't know the right course here, but I know lying isn't it, so strike that from your options. The fact that he has a therapist can only help you here. Very few things about parenting are for certain, but one thing that is? Never lie to your child about something to do with their very existence. It is always the wrong choice. Always. Lies are reserved for small white lies to keep them safe or inconsequential matters. Lies shouldn't be about their life. That's too important, and he deserves to know.